Hey, it's Joseph here with another video, and today I'm going to continue with May Vinyl Challenge 25. I did the first 7 days on my last video, and I'm going to do the next 7 days here on this one. And as I said last week, this challenge is on Instagram, and it's basically just every day has a particular theme. And so anyways, let's get started. I left off on day 7, and today I'm going to be on day 8, Strange and Unusual, Unique, Rare Album. And for that one, I went with B.B. King Sings Spirituals. Okay, it's not really that strange and unusual, other than the fact that on this particular album, B.B. is not playing any guitar. It's strictly all gospel, and he's just as a vocalist. And it's an outstanding album. I mean, he's a great singer. He, of course, grew up with that music, and there's always a strong correlation between gospel music and the blues. But BB does an outstanding job. And another interesting thing about this album was actually gifted to me by somebody on Facebook, Linda. And I really appreciate that because I've never seen this one out in the wild. But for Strange and Unusual, B.B. King Sings Spirituals. Number 2 for day 9, records related in some way. Well, for that one, as I don't know if I've mentioned before, I come from the state of Texas, and I've always had a strong love and a fascination with Texas music that has its roots in Texas. Maybe that's perhaps one of the reasons why I ended up here in Texas. But anyways, the albums that are associated with Texas, because the music of Texas is so varied. There's many artists from diverse backgrounds and different types of music. So as I had B.B. King last time, I'm going to go with Freddie King. He's the other King besides Albert King. And this is one of his, I believe this is from the 1970s. It was produced by Leon Russell. This is one of him that really brought him to the forefront. He got quite a following. He was doing tours in arenas and things like that. But even though it's produced by Leon Russell, and it's got guys like, of course, Russell on piano, Duck Dunn on bass, but it's really a heavy dose of good Texas blues. Freddie King, Getting Ready. Now swinging to something completely different there in Texas. Of course, you can't mention Texas music without mentioning the Texas swing of Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. This is an anthology album on Columbia, a gatefold, where there's a lot of historical notes about the famous Bob Wills. But I've always been infatuated with the music of Bob Wills, perhaps maybe because I really enjoy the music of Asleep at the Wheel, which are kind of like the children of Bob Wills, because they took it back to the forefront of mainstream in the 70s all the way up until now. But Bob Wills is the founder of Western swing, and he's definitely a founder of great Texas music. Switching to a completely different genre here in Texas, Tejano music. This is Sonny and the Sunliners, Las Ciudades, and there's Sonny in the back. And you might be familiar with Sonny Osuna because he does some English albums too. He has Talk to Me was somewhat of a hit, I believe, in the early 60s. But this is all Spanish. He does rancheras and boleros. And I really love his vocals on the ballads like El Reloj, Cien Años, Como Fue. And a lot of those tunes have outstanding trumpet solos. I'm not really familiar who, there's no personnel notes on the album. But this is one of his classic Spanish albums, Las Ciudades, Sonny and the Sunliners, Texas music. Next up, day 10 is Forgotten Random Discog Shake. And for that one, what came up with the Discog Shake, if you're not familiar with the Discog Shake, that's if you have the app and you have your albums on Discogs, well, you shake up the phone and it pulls one of the titles up at random. And in this case, it came up with Duke Ellington's 70th birthday concert. This was recorded in London, I believe in 1969, I believe, and released in 70. And this was in celebration of Duke's birthday. But what's special about this album, besides great music, is this one belonged to my dad. My dad would often play this album, and I was always amazed at the swinging sound and the beautiful sound of the big band of Duke. And here he still has great form of the band. He's got guys like, of course, Johnny Hodges, Paul Gonsalves, Harry Carney, Cat Anderson on trumpet, who really is in great form. He does a feature called El Gato, and also at the end of Satin Doll, his high notes, man, are just something to marvel at. Side note with Cat Anderson, I was able to take trumpet lessons with Cat in the early, I think it was the early 80s or late 70s, and I took trumpet lessons from him for a couple months, and a really nice man, and very humble, but very kind. He's trying to show me some things about getting those high chops. Never quite worked out for me, but Duke Ellington, 70th birthday concert, great album for a Discog Shake. Next up, an album that reminds you of mom. Well, I thought of this one right away. Dinah Washington, Dinah 62. Dinah 62. And this is on the Roulette label. And if you're not familiar with Dinah Washington, she was really one of the outstanding jazz, rhythm and blues singers that came up in the 50s. She made actually a couple albums where she's on some jam sessions that include Clifford Brown on MRC. But here it's all Dinah with a big band and great songs, Drinking Again, Handful of Stars. There's a tune on here called Coquette, and me and my sisters, when my mom would play this, we'd often laugh because Coquette was the name of our grandmother's big standard poodle, and never could understand why she was singing about Coquette the poodle. But obviously she wasn't. But every time I hear Dinah Washington, it reminds me of my mom, and Dinah 1662. Still glad. In fact, this is her album. Thank you, Mom. Next up, Speak Up, underrepresented genre, artist, or group. Lately, I've really been into the British folk scene from the 70s, and especially the bands that have female lead singers, like this one, Fairport Convention. Of course, the famous Fairport Convention. They might be the most well-known of all the British folk bands, and perhaps it's because of the fine vocals of Sandy Denny. And yeah, like I say, I'm really doing a deep dive lately into British folk sounds. And this is one of the best, Legion Leaf, Fairport Convention. Of course, this version of the band still has Sandy Denny on vocals. Really a beautiful vocalist. I really enjoy her vocals. And too bad she passed away at a young age. But moving along, the Pentangle, another band somewhat like Fairport Convention. Perhaps they have a more jazzy rhythm section. Great bass player in this band of Danny Thompson and drummer Terry Cox. And there's the back cover. But really enjoy this. Once again, another great female vocalist, Jackie McShee. She kind of blends of course, traditional folk elements with some blues and even jazz tinges, but I've really been enjoying the Pentangle. And another British band, folk, is Steel Eye Span. Steel Eye Span, it's a gatefold. But once again, another great female vocalist. In this case, it's vocalist Maddie Pryor. And they do some great songs here. Very traditional sounding tunes for the most part. John Barleycorn's on here. You might be familiar with that traditional English tune. It was on the Traffic album, John Barleycorn Must Die. But really enjoy Steel Eye Span and the beautiful vocals of Maddie Pryor. Next, A record from your childhood. In 1967, in the year of Summer of Love, I bought my first 45. Of course, this is not a Ford 45, but this is a Surlistic pillow. And the 45 I bought was White Rabbit. And I was just enchanted with that tune for some reason. I just loved the Spanish vibe to it. Of course, the strange lyrics. I was probably naive not to really realize if it had drug references or not. But I really loved that tune. I loved the sound of Grace's vocals. And it was a gateway for me to explore more of her music. Got my cat here. She's ready to knock over the next record. But anyways, played that 45 to death. In fact, that summer, my cousin came to spend maybe a week or so with me, and I think I just burned his ears out playing White Rabbit over and over. And when he went home to mention to his mom, he goes, "Man, my cousin sure loves that song about the White Rabbit." White Rabbit, Jefferson Airplane. And last but not least, Teenage Love, album unavailable in high school, reissued, you now own. And I went with the Grateful Dead right after the Jefferson Airplane. I'm a big Dead head. Back in the 80s, I saw the Dead probably over 50 times. I became a Dead taper. So this is from, I think, can't believe the year. I think it was released in 2018. Of course, released on Record Store Day. And there's the Wall of Sound. And what's very unique about this album, on this album, is just playing in the band. They do I think it's a 42-minute version of playing in the band. And man, they stretch out. But I really love this era of the Dead where it gets into really jazz grooves with especially the single drumming of Bill Kreutzmann. But this is Grateful Dead playing in the band, Seattle, Washington, 5/21/74. So didn't quite have this back in my high school years, but I'm glad I have it now. So that's another look at the May Vinyl Challenge for 25. Anyways, let me know if you've heard of any of these albums, or let me know what you're listening to. Like, subscribe. Do you take part in any vinyl challenges? And until next time, Joseph out.